The now 17-year-old is charged with 3 felonies in Seminole County, Florida, appearing before a judge charged as an adult on Wednesday.
After Taylor was busted at his mom's house, he pleaded guilty to a string of high-profile computer crimes and walked away with probation.
And this person, even under actual police protection, when they are finally caught, they still continue to actually commit crime.
Did your mom have any idea what was going on?
No.
Did you hide it all from her?
Yeah. It was the darn kids again.
Back in the day, kids would typically steal candy or skip school. But now kids have the internet and some are using it to commit shocking crimes. From bad to straight up terrifying, here are the internet's worst crimes committed by kids. I'm Visual Venture and I hope you guys enjoyed the holiday season. Cosmo the God. When Eric Taylor was only 15, he was arrested by the FBI. At first, he tried to act like he hadn't done anything wrong, but the FBI had stacks of evidence against him. Eric Taylor wasn't just any teenager. On the internet, he went by the name Cosmo the God and was a member of a notorious hacking group called UG-Nazi. UG-Nazi terrorized the internet, committing credit card fraud, identity theft, and crashing websites. They even hacked Papa John's Pizza just because their delivery order was late. By mid-2012, the FBI had enough. They launched an international crackdown called Operation Card Shop, where they arrested 24 UG-Nazi hackers in 13 different countries. Among those arrested was Eric Taylor, aka Cosmo the God. Cosmo thought he was going to jail for sure, but then the feds surprised him. Because he was only 15, Cosmo was given a plea deal instead of prison time. Part of the agreement was that he was banned from using the internet for the next 6 years until he turned 21. If Cosmo really needed to go online, maybe to research a school paper, he had to get permission from his parole officer. And even if he got approval, he had to be supervised the entire time he was online. If Cosmo broke any of the rules, he would be given a 3-year prison sentence. It was a deal meant to scare him straight, and for a little while it worked. A month. Cosmo tried to stay off the web, but the boredom was unbearable. Soon he convinced someone to send him a laptop. The moment he got his hands on it, the old Cosmo the God was back. This time he was going to cause far more chaos. When Cosmo got back online, his hacking adventures took a dark turn. He stumbled upon a site run by a very big Russian cybercrime group. The site sold stolen social security numbers, credit reports, and personal information belonging to millions of Americans, even celebrities and government officials. For most people, discovering something this sinister would be a cue to turn back. But not for Cosmo. He decided to hack the Russian site just to prove he could. Within days, Cosmo broke the site's defenses and downloaded the entire database.
So you hacked the Russian hackers?
Yes.
How did that feel?
I was 15 and it felt amazing.
Then, instead of lying low, Cosmo contacted the Russian criminals he had just hacked and blackmailed them with their information.
What were you thinking?
I had nothing to lose back then, to be honest. That's all I was thinking, was I had nothing to lose.
Instead of retaliating, the Russians were impressed that a kid hacked them, so they made a deal. They gave Cosmo free access to their site, including free credentials to buy social security numbers from them. With access to thousands of private records, including those of politicians, athletes, and celebrities, Cosmo could have kept it all to himself. But he chose a different path. Cosmo decided to leak it online for the world to see. Leaking social security numbers, home addresses, and credit information of famous people is incredibly dangerous. It exposes them to identity theft, harassment, financial ruin, and more. Cosmo knew exactly how much trouble his leaks could cause, but that only made him more eager to do it. First, he created a website to share the stolen data. He gave it a dark, sinister vibe, making it look like it was run by Russian hackers. To make sure people noticed, he anonymously reached out to a TMZ reporter to spread the word.
Like, I made the site seem like it came back to Russia, and the media published it as Russian hackers.
Every day, Taylor, aka Cosmo, would post social security numbers, home addresses, and even full credit reports on the internet for all to see. The data Cosmo released mostly belonged to famous people. He was having the time of his life, but his victims were freaking out as their personal details went public.
I wanted to make a name, but I also wanted to get a message out there.
What was the message?
that nobody's safe online.
However, these public figures had money and power, and they used their influence to pressure law enforcement to act. Soon, the FBI made it their main priority to catch the person behind the leaks. It didn't take long for FBI cyber experts to crack the case. Cosmo made the website with the leaked information look like it came from Russia, but the government figured out who was really behind the postings. The FBI traced everything back to a house in Long Beach, California. The house where Cosmo lived with his mom and grandma. When they realized it was the same teenager they banned from the internet 8 months earlier, they were furious. But they didn't want to give him a chance to escape. They wanted to catch him red-handed. In July 2013, Cosmo was hacking away in his bedroom when he received a call from his grandmother downstairs. She said someone was coming upstairs to see him. He figured it was just his probation officer checking in. He was wrong. Moments later, a SWAT team stormed into his bedroom.
Getting my door kicked down and flashbanged by over 30 to 40 Secret Service and FBI agents when I was 16.
This time, it felt like the end. He blatantly broke the terms of his plea deal, and he was so sure the prison was next. But surprisingly, the court gave Cosmo one more chance. He was sentenced to 3 years probation. It was a shockingly light punishment, practically a miracle. Shaken up by the experience, Cosmo decided to change his life. In the years that followed, Cosmo joined a cybersecurity company.
Taylor is now 21, and he says he's turned his life around.
Today, Cosmo the God helps businesses defend themselves against the very kinds of attacks he used to launch. Up next is something many kids have done before, but this guy took it to a whole new level. The teen who put hundreds in danger. On May 12th, 2023, police in Florida got a chilling 911 call. The caller sounded shaken up. He said he was about to do something really bad. Then in the background, the 911 operator heard loud popping noises. They sounded like fireworks or something worse.
You are there now?
But before hanging up, the caller gave one crucial piece of information: his location. Within minutes, 30 armed officers were on their way. They expected chaos, maybe even a violent showdown. But when they arrived, everything was calm. No one was in danger, no one was hurt. The cops felt like fools. After talking to a few people in the neighborhood, they realized what happened. The 911 call was a prank, a fake emergency. The officers went back to the station hoping this would be a one-time thing. But it wasn't. The same person called 911 again and again, each time with a different voice, a different number, and a different story. But every time police rushed to the scene, they realized no one was in danger. In some cases, the 911 caller sent police to people's homes. The cops would break through the doors, scaring those who lived there. Soon, the police were desperate to find the caller. They thought it was an adult, someone with a grudge against the police, or an ex-con who wanted to waste law enforcement resources. Little did they know, the caller they were hunting was just a teenager. The person behind these fake emergency calls was a 16-year-old named Alan Winston Fillion from Lancaster, California. Most kids his age were playing video games or hanging out with friends, but Fillion had a dark hobby: swatting.
It's called swatting, a fake call to 911 claiming it brings out a large response from law enforcement.
They call it swatting because SWAT teams are sent to deal with the emergency. The problem with swatting is that innocent people can get hurt in the chaos. Alan Winston Fillion made his first swatting call in August 2022. He used text-to-speech software to disguise his voice and caller ID spoofing to hide his location. When police fell for it the first time, Fillion felt a rush of excitement. He realized he could outsmart the system.
They want to see armed officers. They want to see bomb dogs, helicopters. That's all part of the fun they see in this. And
soon, Alan started swatting bigger targets: schools, churches, and military bases. He even sent SWAT teams to the homes of FBI agents and U.S. senators.
He's allegedly targeted Washington State, Texas, Florida, and Maryland.
Despite their best efforts, the police couldn't catch him. Fillion loved the chaos he created. Soon, he wanted to take things to the next level. He decided to sell his services online. With each successful swatting call, Fillion felt more untouchable, so he wanted to make money from his skills. He created a Telegram channel called Tour Swats, offering his swatting services for hire. For $40, he would report a fire or gas leak. He charged $50 for a major police response, and for $75, he would report something much worse. Fillion even offered returning customers a discount. To attract more customers, he made posts bragging about his swatting skills. In a post in January 2023, Fillion claimed that when he swats someone, he usually gets the cops to drag the victim and their families out of the house, cuff them, and search the house for bodies. Fillion didn't care that his actions could ruin lives. He was planning to do it hundreds more times. For nearly 2 years, Fillion stayed one step ahead of the law. During that time, he made more than 375 swatting and threatening hoax calls. But behind the scenes, law enforcement was close to discovering his identity. The FBI launched a national database to track swatting calls, helping hundreds of police departments share information. They also monitored the Telegram channel where he sold his swatting services and linked it to his usernames on YouTube and Discord. Eventually, the trail led straight to Fillion's home in Lancaster, California. In January 2024, the police raided Fillion's home and found electronic devices loaded with evidence, chat logs, recordings, and everything they needed to prove he was behind the swatting spree.
He may be one of the most active and dangerous swatting suspects, in fact, in U.S. history. The 17-year-old is accused in hundreds of so-called swatting cases across the country.
Fillion was arrested and sent back to Florida. In court, he pleaded guilty to the charges against him.
The now 17-year-old is charged with 3 felonies in Seminole County, Florida, appearing before a judge charged as an adult on Wednesday.
Each charge against them carried a maximum sentence of 5 years. If convicted, Fillion could spend decades behind bars. Our next case is very different. This criminal wasn't just causing trouble for fun. He was in it purely for the money. The boy who stole $24 million. Ellis Pinsky was just a teenager when people started calling him Baby Al Capone. You've probably heard of the real Al Capone, who was a ruthless gangster who ran a massive criminal empire back in the 1920s. The question is, what did this kid do to be compared to someone so dangerous? The crime that put Ellis Pinsky on the map happened in 2018 when he was just in 10th grade. What's crazy is the whole thing wasn't even his idea. It all started when 15-year-old Ellis got a job offer from someone named Harry. But this wasn't some ordinary job, it was illegal. Harry wanted Ellis to lead a team of hackers in pulling off a massive heist. The plan was to hack someone's phone and steal millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. To pull it off, they would use a technique called SIM swapping. SIM swapping happens when hackers trick a phone company into transferring someone's phone number to the hacker's own SIM card. The SIM swap allows hackers to intercept all calls, texts, and verification codes sent to that number. With that, they could break into the victims' accounts and steal their money. But SIM swapping is a federal crime in the US, and if they got caught, they would face years behind bars. The thought of jail would scare up most teenagers, but instead of walking away from this job, Ellis said yes. The plan began as soon as Ellis joined. The target was no ordinary person. His name was Michael Turpin, a multimillionaire known as the godfather of crypto. Turpin launched the world's first crypto investment firm, wrote a book teaching people how to get rich with Bitcoin, and reportedly had over $100 million in his crypto wallets. In summary, Turpin was one of the most powerful men in crypto, and they were going to rob him. Ellis led the attack. First, the hackers bribed an AT&T employee to swap Turpin's SIM cards and settings. Once they had control of the phone number, Ellis then reset passwords and accessed Turpin's email accounts. Ellis scanned Turpin's emails and found a file named Passwords. When he opened the file, he discovered a whole list of private keys for wallets owned and controlled by Turpin. With just a few clicks, Ellis transferred about $24 million in crypto out of those wallets. The entire operation took only about 90 minutes. Before Turpin realized anything was wrong, the money was gone. For a while, Ellis thought he pulled off the perfect crime. After selling his share of the crypto, Ellis walked around with a designer wallet packed with $100 bills. He bought a $170,000 car and even took trips on private jets. Meanwhile, his parents and friends thought he was making money through trading Bitcoin and stock. But the perfect crime didn't stay perfect for long. At the time, Turpin's phone hack was one of the largest crypto hacks of its kind. Although Michael Turpin was worth hundreds of millions, losing $24 million wasn't something he could just shrug off. He was determined to get his money back. First, Turpin sued AT&T in 2018, accusing them of failing to prevent the attack. Then he launched his own investigation, teaming up with cyber cybersecurity experts, and law enforcement. It took over a year, but investigators eventually traced the crime to Ellis Pinsky. But Michael Turpin didn't just want his $24 million back. He wanted to embarrass the kid who stole from him. So in 2020, Turpin filed a lawsuit against Ellis, revealing his name to the world. The lawsuit accused Ellis of masterminding the attack and described him as an evil computer genius. Ellis's life unraveled as the case went public. Suddenly, he was front page news, the 15-year-old who stole $24 million in cryptocurrency. The case went to court and Turpin demanded his money back. But he wasn't going to get it because Ellis claimed that he already spent most of the cash. Ellis found himself a good lawyer, pleaded guilty to embezzlement, and returned 562 bitcoins, the Patek watch, and just under $100,000 in cash. Because Ellis was a minor at the time of the theft, the court went easy on him. In 2022, the court ordered Ellis to pay Turpin $22 million to settle the case, no matter how long it takes him to raise the money. Ellis went on to study computer science in college and is still on the hook to pay the $22 million. The next internet crime was equally disturbing and genius, and the kid behind it is now considered a legend. The boy who shut down the internet. In February 2000, the name Mafia Boy sent shockwaves across the internet. Most people thought he was part of an underground cyber terrorist group. Others said he was a dark web hacker trying to destroy the economy. The panic got so intense that US President Bill Clinton and the Attorney General announced a manhunt for Mafia Boy.
The FBI, the RCMP, they were all on the case.
But here's the twist. Mafia Boy wasn't some criminal mastermind. He was a 15-year-old kid messing around with an old computer in his bedroom. So what exactly did this kid do to become public enemy number one? Mafia Boy's real name was Michael Kelsey. He grew up in Montreal, Canada. When Michael was 6, he got his first computer for a pretty strange reason. Michael's parents divorced when he was young, so he spent time with his dad on the weekends. The problem was that his dad didn't know how to keep him entertained. So one day, his dad handed 6-year-old Michael a computer and told him to figure out what to do with it. Michael was hooked. He spent hours learning everything about computers. When he was 9, he got his hands on a free trial of AOL to surf the web. But when the 30-day trial ended, Michael wasn't ready to stop. Instead of paying for an AOL subscription, the 9-year-old hacked the system so he could stay online past the 30-day trial period. Hacking AOL for free internet was Michael's first taste of real hacking, but it wouldn't be the last. As Michael spent more time online, he stumbled onto the dark corners of the internet and found himself in underground hacker chat rooms. These forums were crawling with the world's most dangerous cyber criminals, all competing to prove who was the best. Michael soaked up all the knowledge he could, but he didn't just want to watch. He wanted to do something so big the entire hacking community would respect him. In the hacker world, respect came from pulling off bold, high-profile attacks. So in early 2000, Michael came up with a hack that was so big he knew it would make him a legend. He was going to shut down the internet. Michael Kelsey's big hack took place on February 7th, 2000. That day, he launched a cyber attack called a distributed denial of service or DDoS attack.
You can bombard a website with fake requests, and essentially those fake requests will overwhelm the website and it will actually refuse access to legitimate users trying to access the site.
But Michael wasn't interested in taking down just any website. He was going after the biggest ones in the world, sites run by multi-million-dollar companies.
Well, at the time, these companies were the most popular on the internet, and they yielded a lot of traffic. So if you really want to run a test and see how effective it is, you have to pick some of the big companies.
Michael's first target was Yahoo. At the time, Yahoo was the biggest search engine in the world, kind of like the Google of that era. Michael used a network of hacked computers to send an avalanche of data to Yahoo's servers. Within moments, the site crashed. Panic spread among Yahoo's team as they scrambled to figure out what was happening. Millions of people who were browsing the web with Yahoo suddenly couldn't access the site. But Michael wasn't finished. He wanted this stunt to be even more impressive. Over the next couple of days, he unleashed DDoS attacks on other internet giants, including Amazon, eBay, CNN, and Dell. One by one, these massive websites crashed.
Every day this week, major websites have been outmaneuvered and outmuscled by someone who wanted to take them down.
In the chaos, businesses lost millions of dollars and the US stock market began to fall apart. Mafia Boy's hacking spree reportedly caused $1.7 billion in financial damage. Billion.
Where I basically brought e-commerce to a halt. And I took out some of the biggest companies in the world.
While experts raced to uncover who was behind these attacks, Michael sat in his room watching news reports about the havoc he caused. He was thrilled.
It was more, so were you just showing off to go look what I can do?
For me, hacking was an exploring, it was an adventure to me. I wanted to see how far I could go.
But his victory wouldn't last long, because the FBI made catching him their top priority. After crashing those websites, Michael, using the name Mafia Boy, went on online chat rooms bragging that he was responsible for the attacks. This was his first mistake. By claiming responsibility, Mafia Boy became the most famous hacker in America. But he also became the most wanted. Even the US president knew what Mafia Boy did.
President Bill Clinton held a special cybersecurity summit at the White House.
I think it was an alarm. I don't think it was Pearl Harbor.
The best detectives from the FBI and other agencies were on the case. They needed to uncover Mafia Boy's true identity. Law enforcement followed a trail of clues tracing the attacks to a network of hacked computers in a university. Eventually, those clues led straight to Michael's home in Montreal. About 3 months after the hack, police showed up at his front door.
Investigators of Montreal arrested Mafia Boy and conducted a search of his residence.
No one was shocked that Mafia Boy got caught, but they were stunned when they found out who he was. How could a 15-year-old beat America's biggest tech companies?
Turned out to be this guy, a 15-year-old kid from Montreal who called himself Mafia Boy.
In court, Michael was charged with more than 50 crimes. He confessed to everything. His main defense was that he never meant to cause so much damage. In September 2001, Michael was sentenced to 8 months in a youth detention center and a year of probation. He was also banned from freely using the internet during that time. Today, Michael turned his life around. He's now what's called a white hat hacker. Companies hire him to identify security flaws in their systems and design better security features. The boy who once shut down the internet is now being paid to protect it. When criminals get arrested, they at least act sorry. The next kid didn't show an ounce of remorse. He was itching to break the law again. The boy who hacked GTA 6. Arian Kurtaj was the last person you would expect to turn criminal. He had autism and ADHD, which made his school and social life a constant struggle. His doctor once said Arian operated at the level of 1% of his peers. But Arian had a secret weapon, an incredible ability to understand computers. By age 14, he could crack passwords, bypass security, and hack like a pro. Then he did one thing that took him from computer prodigy to criminal. He joined a hacking gang.
FBI San Francisco says a hacking group called Lapsus came on the scene in January 2022 and has been stealing companies' data, threatening to leak it unless the company pays a ransom in Bitcoin.
The gang was called Lapsus, and they had one goal: hack big companies, steal their data, and demand ransom. And they went after the world's biggest companies.
Lapsus, throughout its actual involvement, some of these hackers were involved with hacking Uber, Nvidia, and the amount of damages they ended up causing was around $10 million US.
With Arian on board, Lapsus became bolder than ever. But although Arian was a great hacker, he was bad at covering his tracks. Soon, law enforcement linked Lapsus's hacks to Arian Kurtaj's IP address. In January 2022, police raided his home and arrested him. It seemed like the end of the road for Arian. But in reality, his story was just beginning. Arian wasn't locked up for long. Within days, he was released on bail while police built their case. Most people on bail would have tried to stay out of trouble, but Arian wasn't like most people. As soon as he walked out, he went back to hacking with Lapsus. This time, their target was Nvidia, the multi-billion-dollar company that produced computer chips. Arian dove into the operation, eager to prove himself. But not everyone was happy to see him back in action. Arian's fellow hackers couldn't stand him. They thought he was arrogant and rude, always acting like he was smart smarter than everyone else. His rivals were waiting for the perfect moment to take him down. Now they saw their chance. Normally, hackers don't snitch on each other, but Arian was an exception. Rival hackers doxed Arian, posting his and his family's contact details online. They even posted pictures and videos of him on social media. Being doxed put Arian in danger. Now anyone with a grudge could now find him. His life was in danger. Around that same time, London police figured out that Arian was involved in the hack on NVIDIA, so they arrested him again in March 2022. But this time, things were different. Because Arian had been doxed, keeping him in regular detention wasn't safe. So the police had to keep him in a Travelodge hotel in Bicester, England. The cops also seized Arian's laptop and banned him from using the internet. Once again, it seemed his hacking days were finally over, but he wasn't ready to give up yet. Even locked in a hotel room under police watch, Arian found a way to hack again.
They were kept in like a Travelodge hotel. This individual grabbed an Amazon Fire Stick, a television set, and a cell phone, and decided to commit one of their biggest hacks through sheer cyber MacGyverism.
Although he didn't have a laptop, Arian somehow connected an Amazon Fire Stick, a smartphone, a keyboard, and a mouse to the TV in the hotel room. Then he got back to hacking right under the noses of the police. This time, Arian set his sights on Rockstar Games. Once he got into their system, he stole all the data for Grand Theft Auto 6, one of the most hyped games in the world. Then he gave Rockstar a chilling ultimatum. If Rockstar doesn't contact me on Telegram within 24 hours, I will start releasing the source code. To prove he wasn't bluffing, he uploaded 90 clips of unfinished gameplay online. The internet exploded and everyone scrambled to figure out who was behind the hack. No one guessed it was a teenager locked in a hotel room under police protection. The police didn't even think that Kurtaj was behind the Rockstar hack at first, but they searched his hotel room just to be sure. When they burst in, they caught Arian red-handed, using the hotel's TV, an Amazon Fire Stick, and a keyboard to hack. They were furious. Arian was rearrested and kept far away from anything he could turn into a hacking tool. Eventually, he got his day in court, but this case wasn't a normal one. The jury found him guilty of several crimes, including blackmail and fraud connected to his work with Lapsus. But because of his severe autism, the court only focused on whether he committed the crimes, not his intentions. In December 2023, Arian was sentenced to indefinite detention in a hospital prison. He'll remain there until experts believe he's no longer a threat to the public. Our next case is about a master manipulator, a kid so smart he convinced adults to do exactly what he wanted. The CIA hack. If you Google the name Kane Gamble, you'll see him described as a cyber terrorist and hacker. But Kane wasn't your typical hacker. He didn't spend hours writing code or cracking into firewalls. His real weapon was something much simpler: his voice. Kane was a genius at something called social engineering. Social engineering is about tricking people into giving away sensitive information like passwords or security codes without them even realizing it.
But hackers can be very socially smart. They can call up a company and convince the company to give them details they normally wouldn't do.
Instead of hacking into computers, social engineering is about hacking people. Kane knew a security system is only as secure as the humans running it, and humans can be fooled. But how exactly did a teenager like Kane use social engineering to become one of the world's most notorious criminals? Kane Gamble grew up in a small town in England. He was incredibly intelligent. He also had autism, which reportedly made it harder for him to understand right from wrong. Kane had a very black and white view of the world, seeing it more as a video game with goodies and baddies. Around 2015, when he was about 15, Kane started a hacking group called Crackers with Attitude, or CWA. They weren't hacking for money or fame. They wanted to fight what they considered injustice in the world. One of their first targets was one of the most powerful men in America, the director of the CIA. Hacking the director of the CIA started with a simple phone call. Kane knew John Brennan, the director of the CIA, had an AOL email account, so he picked up the phone and called AOL's customer support. Pretending to be Brennan, Kane said something like, "Hi, I'm John Brennan. I'm locked out of my account. I think I've forgotten my password." The customer Service rep, eager to help, asked Kane a few questions to confirm his identity. But Kane was ready for this. He knew enough about Brennan to answer every question without hesitation.
Now there's a wealth of data online, so they got a lot of data about the CIA director online.
In just a few minutes, the rep reset the password and handed it over to Kane. This teenager now had access to everything: the CIA director's emails, iCloud, and even secret government documents.
It was this combination of actually getting on the phone and calling and pretending that was actually kind of a game changer for them, not necessarily the hardcore hacking.
But stealing the information wasn't enough for Kane. He wanted to rub it in. He called the CIA director directly, laughing and bragging about how he hacked him. Then, to make matters worse, he leaked some of Brennan's private emails and documents online for the world to see. With that move, Kane made an enemy of one of the most powerful men in the world. But Kane's hacking spree didn't end with the CIA boss. He went after more high-profile targets.
Campbell targeted the FBI too. He tried to hack the agency's portal and its deputy director, Mark Giuliano, as well as a special agent called Amy Hess.
Kane even hacked FBI systems and leaked details of 20,000 FBI employees online, putting them in danger.
But he knew he was putting lives at risk. He talked about that online after releasing an FBI staff list and describing it as the biggest hack ever.
He created an anonymous Twitter account under the name Kraka. Anytime he hacked or stole data, he would tweet about it. When he wasn't bragging about his crimes, he was mocking the authorities and daring them to catch him. But his cocky attitude would eventually be his downfall. As Kane Gamble continued his attacks, both US and UK authorities worked non-stop to track him down. Every time he hacked or bragged about his crimes online, he left behind digital clues, and investigators were closing in fast. In February 2017, British police raided his home. They expected to find an experienced hacker running a major operation. Instead, they found a teenager sitting at his mom's computer.
A Leicestershire teenager hijacked the computers of several US intelligence and security chiefs.
When the case went to court, prosecutors didn't hold back. They called his actions cyber terrorism, pointing out how he disrupted critical US government operations. But despite the chaos he caused, Kane got off with a surprisingly light punishment, partially because he had autism.
Socially, he was still very immature, and he told one expert that he did this because it was kind of easy and didn't think he was hurting anyone.
Since he was still a minor when he committed the crimes, the court sentenced him to just 2 years at a youth detention center. This next criminal didn't have any special tech skills. He was a normal teenager who let his emotions push him too far. The dark obsession. Eric Rowan Justin was barely 18 when he found himself on the wrong side of the law. And he's on the list because his obsession started before the age of 18. Eric wasn't a scammer or hacker. His journey into crime began with something harmless: scrolling on TikTok. In early 2020, Eric was watching videos on TikTok when he stumbled upon Ava Majuri's page.
This teen soared to fame lip-syncing and dancing on TikTok. Her upbeat message: hey, I love you.
Ava Majuri was a rising star on TikTok with 1.2 million followers and 57 million likes across all her videos. When Eric saw Ava, it was love, or something like it at first sight. He binge watched every one of her videos, but just watching her content wasn't enough. Eric didn't just want to be a fan, he wanted to be part of her life. Eric started following Ava on other social media platforms, including Snapchat and Instagram. He sent her messages, and to his surprise, Ava replied. Slowly, he worked his way into her online world. He even played online games with Ava and her brothers. But Eric's interest quickly spiraled into something darker. He became obsessed. He began texting and calling Ava constantly. At first, it was mildly irritating, but Ava tolerated him. Eric even offered to buy Ava's selfies, $300 for 2 photos. Ava, after consulting her parents, reluctantly agreed. She sold him 2 photos of just her face. Eric saw this as a small victory, so he pushed his luck. He asked for more photos, but this time it wasn't just her face he wanted. He demanded explicit photos. That was the last straw. Ava blocked him on all her social media.
I got to the point where it was kind of taking a bad turn that just got creepier and creepier as time went on.
She thought Eric was just a creep, but he was something far worse. He was a stalker, and things were about to get serious. Eric was crushed when Ava blocked him, but instead of backing off, it made him even more desperate. So Eric tried another tactic. He started contacting Ava's classmates, offering money for any information they had about her. Some of them agreed, selling him photos, her phone number, and even her home address. Weeks went by, and Eric's obsession turned into anger. Now he wanted to force him back into Ava's life, no matter the cost. Eric told one of Ava's classmates that he planned to visit Ava's home and break through the door. The classmate told Ava what Eric said, and the Majuri family began to understand the threat was real. Still, they hoped it was just all talk, but they were about to realize just how serious he was. July 10th, 2021. That morning, Eric traveled from Maryland to Naples, Florida, where Ava lived. But he wasn't heading to her house to talk. When Eric arrived, he blasted a hole through the front door of the Majuri home. Ava and her family were inside and they tried to hide. But Ava's dad, Rob, was a former police officer.
Ava's father, Rob Majuri, is a retired police lieutenant from New Jersey. He sprang into action.
Rob grabbed his firearm and stood guard at the family's front door. He warned Eric to back off, but Eric kept moving forward. Ava's dad retaliated back. Eric didn't make it.
I was able to neutralize the threat at that point.
When police arrived, they searched Eric's body and found 2 phones on him. The phones contained thousands of pictures and videos of Ava, which was proof of his obsession. Eric's obsession pushed him to commit several crimes, including stalking, trespassing, and assault. After the incident, Ava's family moved and she started homeschooling. In the end, Ava's dad, Rob Majuri, wasn't charged. The authorities ruled that he acted in self-defense to protect his family. These stories reveal the destructive potential if the internet is used for evil. But these stories also show us something else. The internet isn't inherently good or bad. It's a tool, and how we use it defines its impact. For every crime committed online, there's an opportunity to use it to help others. So my request for you is to do just that. Visual Venture. If you guys like this video, you'd probably like my video on how a Boy Scout turned into a $1.2 billion drug lord right here. Love you guys. Peace.